welcome back to Just Another Stitch. For those that don't know me, my name is Connie, and if you're new to my channel, I'd like to welcome you. So today I'm going to show you how to do the single crochet stitch. And we're going to make the slip knot like that. Okay. Put your hook. Oops, let me change that. Okay. And I'm going to be chaining 10, which this will give you a little review on how to do the chain stitch. Okay, you do like this, and you pull through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. And I'm going to count the stitches to make sure we have 10. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And as you remember, they look like little hearts. And then we're going to go to the back side. And this is what you're going to be doing the single crochet into. And remember, the knot doesn't count. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And as you remember, on the back side, it looks like a circle with a little bore. And the bore is what we're going to be single crocheting into. Okay, so before you start crocheting into your chain stitch, you want to add a stitch marker to the yarn that's over the hook. And you just, like this. And I highly recommend using stitch markers. Okay. So, see that stitch there? In the single crochet stitch, you're going to skip that first chain. And you're going to work into the second. And sometimes you're going to kind of have to force it to go through. Okay, so you're through that little bore. You're going to yarn over, turn your hook down, go through the base stitch. Then you're going to yarn over again, and you're going to go through both the yarns, like that, okay? Then you go into the next bore. And this row is always the hardest for me. You're probably going to have trouble with it too. Okay. And I'm also used to crocheting with 4-weighted yarn. And this is bulkier yarn. But I wanted to let y'all be able to see the stitches better and what I'm doing. So, okay. You yarn over. You put your hook facing down. You go through the first stitch, yarn over, and go through both. So that's 2. Oops. Go through the bore. And like I said, if you have to force it, that's okay. because I can't always juggle my hands properly. You know, so anyway, yarn over, put your hook facing down, go through the base stitch, yarn over again, and pull through both stitches. Put it through. Okay. So you go through the bore. Okay. Go through the bore. Yarn over. Yarn over again and go through both. Go through the bore. Yarn over. Turn your hook down. Go through the first loop. Yarn over. And go through both. Okay. I don't know why I always have trouble with that, but you put it through the bore. And like I said, at first you're probably going to be forcing it like how I am. Okay. You yarn over. You go through the first base stitch. Yarn over. Go through both of them. Okay. You want to go through that bore. Okay. Yarn over. Go through that first space stitch. Yarn over and pull through both of them. And you're going to go through that last final bore. Okay. Yarn over. Needle facing down. Go through the base loop. Yarn over and pull through both. Okay. And now we finish the row. And we're going to make sure of our stitches. And remember, we skipped the first stitch. So we're going to have 9 stitches. See where your stitch marker is? That's how you know where that first stitch starts. So you got 1. And remember, we're looking for the hearts. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And remember, what was on the hook does not count. And I'm going to show you how to recognize the stitches on this part. On the face side, you're going to have what looks like a V and a bore on top. See? V bore. V bore, V bore, V bore, V bore. Okay? So, and I'm going to show you the difference on the back side. So before we turn our work, you want to do a chain 1. And at the end of the row with single crochet, you're always going to do a chain 1. And sometimes you will see in patterns where they have you turn then chain. Do as the pattern calls for, and always make sure you're consistent with it. But I like to do my chain before I turn. Okay, so you have the chain 1, and then you turn. That's all you're doing to turn. See, this is how you were, and you just turn it over. Okay, and on this side you'll have the V again with 2 bores. See, the V, 2 bores, the V, the 2 bores. And this is another way that you can count your stitches too. I personally prefer to count it from the top of the row where you have the hearts, because it's consistent looking with all your stitches when you start doing the half double crochet, the triple crochet. So now we're fixing to start the second row. I'm going to have my hook back in. Okay. Now with single crochet, you have the chain that you just did. Let me put my, I forgot to do this. Let me put a stitch marker. And you'll want to put the stitch marker when you start a new row. Okay. So your first stitch, that's that chain that we just did. And that's to give you the height with your stitches. You want to skip that stitch. Okay, let me get positioned. And you're going to go into the second stitch. And you see how you got the 2 bores. You go through both the front and the back. Okay, you yarn over, you pull through that base stitch, you yarn over again, and you pull through the 2 loops. Oops. Okay. Now you're going to go into the next one, which again, you see the 2 bores. Go through the front and the back. Okay. You yarn over, you pull through that top stitch, yarn over, and pull through 2. So the main difference between before, when you did that first row, you just had the 1 bore, that was just 1, where now you're going through the 2. So go through the stitch like that, you see, yarn over, pull through the base stitch, yarn over again, and pull through. Okay, go through the stitch, yarn over, pull through the base stitch, yarn over, and pull through both. Go through the stitch, yarn over, pull through the base stitch, yarn over, and go through both. Go through the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through both. Okay, you go through the stitch, you yarn over, pull through the base stitch, yarn over, and go through both. You go through the stitch, you yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through both. Okay, you go through that final stitch, and you see you got the stitch marker, which reminds you that this is the final stitch. Like I said, learning to crochet, stitch markers are a lifesaver. Use them. Oops. Okay, go through that stitch. Yarn over. Pull through. Yarn over. And go through both. Okay. So, now we should have 9 stitches. This is your first one. And you see how easy those stitch markers make it so you know where that first stitch is. So that's 1. Remember, it's shaped like a heart. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay. So we're going to remove this stitch marker here. Put your hook back in. And remember, we're about to turn. So when you get to that end of the row, you're going to chain 1. Okay. Then you're going to turn. You want to put your stitch marker. And remember, you're going to skip that chain that you just did, that first stitch, and you're going to go into the second stitch. And you keep doing like we were before. And do some rows, get some practice on this. And remember, the main thing when it comes to single crochet, when you hit the end of the row, you're going to chain 1. You turn. You put your stitch marker. You skip that first chain that you just did. And then you keep going. And you're going to have 9 stitches. And make sure you count to make sure you have 9. You don't want to skip a stitch. So this is how you do the single crochet.